What's up, everybody? That's how we started off the episode. That's it.
Yeah.
That just shows you how we are. We keeps it real.
That's how it is.
We got to clear our throats. We're going to clear them.
It's got to be real.
What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Hope you're all having a good night, good day, whatever time it is, wherever you're watching.
Hope everyone had a lovely weekend, and thank you for joining us once again on Jump
Happy
Street.
Mother's Day, too, to the mothers out there. If
Happy
there's any
Day.
mothers watching.
Happy Mothers to all the mothers out there.
Happy Mothers.
Happy Mothers. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Happy Mothers.
Happy Mothers.
To all the mothers out there. Yeah, no, but hopefully you guys spent some time with your mothers, or you know, people who are mothers, and you got to honor them a little bit today. But hopefully you're joining us now.
Yeah, time to spend time with us now.
Yeah, now it's our time. We're mothers now.
We're your
What
mothers.
does that mean? I don't know. I'm just gonna
We're
go
your
for it.
mothers now.
We're your mothers now.
All right, thank you, Barry, for joining us this evening. We have a couple special guests tonight.
Very special guest.
If you don't already,
Mm-hmm.
do you want to, I don't know, you usually do the,
Oh, the
I don't know.
Facebook iTunes?
I guess so, yeah. The Facebook iTunes.
Okay, so yeah, thank you for joining us. And if you don't already, follow us on Facebook. Go to our Instagram, go to iTunes, go to our YouTube.
Got to hit that bell.
Subscribe, hit the notification bell.
We just got our first
Yeah,
notifications.
the notification bell is really cool. And yeah, if you like everything that you see, please go to Patreon and give us a little donation, because it affords us the mobility to do more
helps
things
us
for the
out.
show.
It helps
yeah,
us
it
out.
helps. So again, thank you very much. And
Yeah.
yeah, we'd also like to shout out our Patreon supporters.
I'll do them. Okay. Shout out to our Patreon supporters this month. We have Jared, Simon C., Anthony Lee, Sal Maz, Andrew Mignolo, and Michael Waite. And Michael Waite also wants to give a shout out to Jeff Metz, who's getting married this weekend.
Jeff Metz is getting married.
Jeff Metz is getting married. Congratulations, Jeff Metz.
Congratulations. Getting married to Kate. We didn't get a last name, but I guess it's going to be Kate
There was a
Metz.
last name. I didn't put it for whatever reason.
Maybe it's Kate Metz.
I didn't want to
now.
get too personal.
Okay, let's not make it too
It's our
personal.
business.
No, but congratulations on that.
Congratulations. And thank you again to all our Patreon supporters. It goes a long way.
Yes.
Very
And
grateful.
before we get into our sponsor, I just wanted to... Do you mind if I shut down the podcast for a second?
All right, shut it down.
No,
That's the new thing.
yeah, I just wanted to... If you guys who are... Some people
yeah.
are listening, they're not going to be able to see
Fish is
this.
very excited tonight.
I'm very excited. If those who are viewing the show, I have a new arm for my microphone, so I feel like a radio guy now. I can do
Yeah.
all this cool stuff, and I'm going to be doing it all.
When it gets
episode. I'm gonna
intense, you have to be like, wait a minute.
It
pull it
feels
in.
really real.
Oh,
No,
by the way-
I just wanted to shout that out. We could start the podcast.
No,
again.
but shout out to Iggy Lopez. He sent us like some proper arms. They're over there, but I don't have the mounts for them yet. They're like legit arms, and they're actually kind of big. So we got to figure out a way to mount them on our little small table.
Yeah.
But shout out to Iggy Lopez for sending us those arms over too. So we might upgrade the arms too soon eventually.
Sick.
So-
Yeah, big shout out to Iggy.
So get used to it.
Yeah, love Iggy, man.
We have our Patreon monthly giveaway. Wink, it's not a Patreon monthly giveaway, but it is
Yeah.
for legal reasons. I got to do this live so people know that we're not full of shit. So
Okay.
this is for the month of April. What just passed? April? Yeah,
Yes.
this is for April. So if
What
you don't
just
already,
passed?
if you don't know already, we do a monthly giveaway to our Patreon supporters. So we randomly pick one name.
But we don't. Wink, wink, we do.
We don't wink, wink.
Legal
if
reasons
if
we
Mr.
can't.
Patreon's watching, we don't do that.
Yeah, Joe Patreon.
So this is
Joe Patreoni.
this is our April monthly giveaway. Here we go. Here we go for the month of April Patreon giveaway. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. We should do a drum roll. James A. Ridley. Congratulations, James Ridley. Either hit us. Hey, say what up.
Congratulations, James Ridley.
Either hit us up or we will hit you up. Something will happen, and we'll get you one of any item from our online store.
Cool.
Just to show a little, giving back a little bit to
Yeah.
all you people who will help us out.
Definitely. We appreciate everything.
Yeah.
And we appreciate the viewership. We appreciate it all.
We have a WTF as well.
We do.
Oh yeah, you don't even know the WTFs.
I-
Yeah, like no time to do anything.
Yeah, I was in Atlantic City with my brother celebrating
Yeah.
his birthday. So Austin set this episode up as I was driving up frantically to pick up our guests from the ferry. So I appreciate that, Austin. But I don't know, so it's going to be a surprise.
Yeah,
to
so
me,
let's see.
as it is to everyone else at home.
This week it comes to us from. Oh, see, I got too lucky with the Patreon names. They were too easy to pronounce.
Yeah.
Jay Cuthbertson.
That's not
just
bad.
say- yeah, not that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. This is super random, right?
No. Wow. One more time.
I've never seen anybody backflip off.
So it's fakie to front,
what do you?
to side surf.
Yeah.
To
To another backflip thingy?
Miller.
I
What
don't
is
know. It's not really a backflip if you're sideways like that,
Yeah.
right? What do people call that? We call it a side surf, but I feel like that's one of those things where people call it differently.
Like a crab too.
Crab walk, yeah,
Yeah,
crab walk. Yeah.
I like the crab walk because that's just a sick. name for it.
It's like,
That's sick. It's like you're fakie and you're forward at the same time.
yeah. So that's
Sick.
like I don't even know what the hell that's called. It's like
Tight.
a windmill of some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, shout out to Jay Cuthbertson.
Cuthbertson.
Yeah,
See, it wasn't
you did
just
way,
me.
You did way better than
it wasn't
me.
just me. And also, real quick before we begin, the Blading Cup series is about to begin. I just wanted to let people know that there is going to be next weekend, May 25th, the Delta City Open, as well as the following week, the Fontana Cup. Is it pronounced Fontana? Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Fontana. Okay. I don't know. I thought I was like saying it like Fanta.
No, that's good. Fontana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these things qualify you for the Blading Cup itself, and there's cash prizes and a whole bunch of other goodies.
That's
involved.
awesome.
Yeah. So if you're in the area,
Those qualifying events are a really good idea.
yeah,
That's
it's
sick.
sick. Yeah, it's a nice little touch.
Yeah.
So if you're in Michigan for the Delta City Open or Fontana, California area and want to join those events, go for it. Check out the Blading Cup, their Instagram, Facebook, whatever.
Speaking of their Instagram,
Yeah.
their old one was hacked.
Yeah, yeah.
And so follow them at their new one, which is at the Blading Cup.
The Blading Cup.
Yeah.
Okay. So check them out for all the updates on all these events.
Also, before we get our show
shutting it
started,
down?
and I'm not going to shut it down.
Okay.
No, this is part of the show.
Okay.
But we have to talk about our very lovely sponsor
Yes, we do.
that we have,
Yes, we do.
which is
I have the thing
I think
for it.
you have the spiel.
I have the spiel.
Mm-hmm.
So, big shout out to our sponsor. Thank you for supporting. We have Turtle Pillow. So, if you guys don't already know, I actually have one with me here today this time. Turtle Pillow is a UK-based travel accessory brand. Manufactures products to make you feel well-rested in transit so that you are performing best wherever you're going. So, we didn't have the actual pillows to
The
show
last
last
time,
time.
yeah.
But we got them now. And you didn't even see this, so check this out.
No, I haven't. So yeah,
So look how crazy that thing is.
so this is looks like a pretty good soft pillow here, neck
Well, I got the
fitting.
adjustment things. Here, I'll rock it.
It's got
So
the adjustable. Are you gonna rock it?
I'm going to show you how. Actually, I can't have the headphones on.
Damn, I was about to say.
But check it out, Turtle Pillow.
Yeah.
They're supporting a lot of people in the blading world right
I
now.
saw a few people put out like CJ.
Yeah, CJ's always posting Mary Mino,
Mary
Danny
Munoz, yeah.
Aldridge. Yeah, a few ambassadors. This is the Turtle Pillow Plus. It's fully
Yeah.
got like adjustable height thingy, so you could, different neck lengths
Yeah.
for all you long neckers out there.
Oh, you long neckers.
And they also have
And it's also good for the little necks too.
It's good for little necks too.
Little
yeah.
necks, medium necks,
Yeah,
all kinds of
necks.
necks.
They don't discriminate at Turtle.
No.
No. And they have nice compression socks too. So that look how funny these look.
Yeah.
Because they have the little feet.
Oh,
Because they're
okay.
meant to be super
Wow.
tight, I guess, to help your circulation when you're traveling on long hauls.
Oh, nice.
So we also had a giveaway with them last week. Congratulations to the winner was Stephen Belvis. So if you guys missed that already, congrats Stephen Belvis.
Stephen
And
Belvis.
he won himself compression socks and a Turtle Pillow Plus also. And for everyone else, check them out. Turtle Pillow.
Turtle Pillow is number one.
Turtle Pillow. We had a little song.
We need
like
to get a
that.
jingle.
Turtle Pillow Plus.
We need-
Turtle Pillow Plus.
Yes. We need a jingle. If anyone knows a jingle guy, have him call
A
us.
jingle guy.
Yeah.
Imagine that's like your job.
Does
I mean,
anyone have a jingle guy? Oh, there's totally jingle guys out there.
Definitely jingle guys. Hell yeah.
100%.
Hell yeah. Jingle guys. I'm a
Okay.
jingler. So we
Well,
can
I'm loosened up and ready for our guest.
I'm ready to go too.
Yeah? Okay, well,
If we're not, let's give a big round of applause. Dun. For our first guest, he won the coin toss. If you haven't seen it on our Instagram story, Robbie Pitts.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm seriously honored that both of you guys wanted to have me on the show. It's really nice.
We're very grateful that you're willing to come on.
Oh man, I'm being in New York, it's like the perfect opportunity. So
I know.
yeah.
What are the odds that you would be in New York? We were like, at first we were like, we got to get some international guests on here. And now they're just flooding in.
now
No, it's true. I mean, New York is just such a cultural hub. You're just going to get people coming here left, right, and center. So I
Yeah,
feel like
we're lucky in that
I know,
sense.
but you're all doing the right thing of like taking advantage of that. So
We're trying
yeah.
to.
We've been a bit fortunate with the guests, but
Yeah.
it's definitely a place where people pass through a lot. So.
Yeah. We're lucky
Pretty
for that. We're not in
Yeah.
the middle of the country or something like that where there's
for sure.
no one wants to visit. We got to make up our own
Yeah.
guests. But
Or as remote as Australia.
Australia has a ton of people though.
No, that's true.
Ton of
That's
people.
true. That's true.
So
Yeah.
if anyone wants to podcast in Australia, you got a lot of options out there too.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, first, what are you doing in New York?
Well, I've been here since Wednesday,
Hmm.
and I've been staying with John Jenkins, and basically he and I have been working on a little photo series together because he shoots a lot of fashion editorial stuff, and basically we've just been working on something about the past year, and he and I have been talking about working on projects together, and just teed up to come out here to continue shooting on that and kind of wrap it up. And then at the same time, my good friend Patrick Ritter was going to be in town with also Matt Luda, or Matt Ludusky, as I should say, and Dominic Stransky and Sandra Gruen were coming as well. So
Luda's here
yeah, he's here as well. Yeah.
now.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh damn!
Sadly,
I gotta try to
sadly
catch
not
him.
in the house. Cause
No,
otherwise
no.
we
Well,
could-
yeah, that'd be weird if
yeah.
I didn't know he was in the
Yeah.
house.
But yeah, like I also hadn't met Dominic and Sandro before, and you know, spoken to them online, and they seem like really great guys, and I'm a fan of their skating. So
Yeah.
it was just perfect timing, like just coming out for all of that. So
Yeah.
and this as well.
So you're not even
you
here
know?
for
Yeah.
any skating thing. It's just straight like some
Oh,
fashion stuff.
Well, no, I mean like both, you know, because
Okay.
like
Yeah, the homies.
Yeah, I just you know, I this is actually the first time I've been here in like the last 2 years. We're both for the Boshi skate off, and basically I haven't been just for like a regular kind of visit and a hangout skate session kind of thing. So
Yeah.
this trip's been really great. The last time I did that was in 2014, and I was
Damn.
here for just under a week, and I was here for the Cosmo Memorial session.
Oh, sick.
Oh, right.
Which was
Yeah.
really awesome. I think that was the only. No, I skated twice. Actually, I think that trip. I also had a session at the Washington Heights skate park.
Yeah.
But
Was-
yeah.
Was the Cosmic Morris session the Under the Bridge one?
No, we met at the big skate park down in Chelsea Piers? Is that what
Okay.
it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we went and skated street, kind of from there
Cool.
along the riverside.
Yeah.
We hit like 2 spots. It was just awesome. It was kind of like my first insight to seeing like the camaraderie of New York City. Because I actually felt, and I feel like I spoke about this with people at the time, that it reminded me a lot of Melbourne and Australia in general, because I feel like the scenes out there are like very close, you know, because we're so isolated.
It definitely
Yeah.
seems like that from our perspective too.
For sure.
And yeah, I think it's important to like, because when you come to like the events, like whether it be Bashi Pope or whatever competition, you just don't get the same feel. Like, so
Yeah.
you get to experience
Totally.
more of that like
Yep.
real session vibe as opposed to like the chaos that usually
Yep.
ensues in the midst of those events.
Definitely,
And you like
for
hopping
sure.
around too, skating from spot to spot. That's like something we used
Yep.
to do that in Melbourne, right? 'Cause
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
how when I was there, you skate like that too.
So like since I've been here, like it's really reminded me of just being back home in Melbourne,
Yeah.
because like the public transport system's like really awesome, and you basically do the same thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, just being able to like, I don't know, just the energy of being here in the city is kind of electrifying. And I just love being able to just like skate from spot to spot. I mean,
Yeah.
personally, that's actually my preference.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
love like
Yeah.
in LA where I'm currently living. I love to do that. Just my favorite place to skate is downtown LA. I love to just go down there and just skate around, find things to skate, and it becomes its own like kind of like physical activity in itself. You know, getting from one spot to
You're warmed
another.
up and you get to the spot
Yeah,
that way.
yeah, exactly.
It's a good
Because it's
feeling.
so common, you know, in this like California to have to drive places,
Mm-hmm.
and that's fine. You end up going to good spots, you know, that might be a bit more remote or whatever. But there's something so kind of like I find just so fun and exhilarating when you don't really know what you're going to skate, and
Yeah.
you just sort of have no expectations. You go out and it allows you to open yourself up to the possibilities of like finding something kind of in
Along the
anything.
way, yeah.
It's a totally different energy for sure, because
Yeah.
we grew up skating like that in New York, where we just like skated spot to spot, and it was definitely like, oh, what's that? Like something you
I never-
might like you randomly bump into like so many other things.
completely.
And yeah, just like I think too, like with the energy of like sitting in the car, going to a spot, you like might be anxious, like, oh, I'm gonna skate here,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
That's what was-
it's less like on the.
I never thought about
that.
that. I never thought about that difference, because you always get to find spots on the way to another spot. When you're driving from spot to spot, you have to know where you're going.
Yeah,
Unless you see something on the side of the road,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
other than that, you
completely.
don't. Yeah.
I remember that. I found that very interesting. Jeff was talking about that when you had him on the podcast recently.
Yeah.
Like talking about the different sessions, how like out on the
filming
East
and
Coast
stuff.
it was far more just like session style skating as
Yeah.
opposed to the filming of the trick kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the Sydney and Melbourne thing like always reminds me of that, because
Yeah.
like even from like back in the day, like all the early videos, just like seeing just like the crews of people, and like it was known for also like the concrete parks back in the day, like the really sick ones, wherever those were. But
For sure.
so I knew you have a lot of time like skating in Melbourne, but you're from Darwin, right?
Well, technically I'm from a town which is outside of Melbourne called Ballarat, And
Okay.
I was born there and lived there for, I think, 5 years. And I moved to Darwin. It's actually a small town outside of Darwin called Palmerston. And I lived there from when I was 6, well, just about 6 till 13. And in the year 2000, I moved to Melbourne, which is where my parents are from.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I'm from Melbourne because that's where I've like lived the most in my life.
Yeah.
Or at least that's where I tell people I'm from, because most people generally don't know Ballarat, or they don't know Palmerston, or they don't know Darwin.
Yeah.
But yeah, Darwin definitely informed like the beginnings of my skating for sure. And just the very fact of that, like, it's such a remote part of the world, so to speak, that like you were like taking inspiration from all of these cultural hubs in the world, you know, seeing like Los Angeles, you know, Venice Beach, or, you know, New York. And those places were just, they were kind of like these heaven mecca sort of like skate areas, you know, that I just always envisioned I would love the opportunity to ever like to be able to go there and skate them. And like the equivalent in Australia was like going to Sydney and Melbourne. So when my parents told me that we were moving, I was like, wow, Josh Clark is from Melbourne, you know, like Tim Ward is from there. Like maybe I'm going to be able to like meet them.
Oh, so
you
it's
know?
really exciting.
Yeah. And actually, like, I remember like as, you know, a 13-year-old, I would go skate like this indoor skate park, the Shed. And I met Shane Yost, and I was at my local skate park, and Josh Clark just one day turned up and like,
sick.
it's just, you know, because I think wherever you're from, you're going to idolize people who are kind of like local to you to some
Totally,
degree. I'm
totally.
sure like both of you like loved, you know, the New York guys who
Oh,
grew
yeah,
up here in
totally.
the generations
Yeah.
before you.
Totally.
And stuff, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
It was easy to kind of bump into people too, in that sense. That's
Oh,
also
yeah.
another city thing compared to, you
Yep.
know, driving around from spot to spot.
Yeah.
Because you can run into people all over the place.
Well, I was saying to Bill earlier that basically since I've been here, like I feel like I've encountered more people, and it's not just having like a, you know, a talk or that kind of an interaction, just literally passing by more people than I have an entire year of living in LA. And that energy is just incredible, and it makes me like the possibilities of living here is like so different to, you know, other areas of the world, and particularly what I have been experiencing in the last 3 years. And it's just so funny. I kind of just love the feeling of being able to just strike up a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of been happening a lot. You know, I'll just get on the train and sit down, and then the person next to me just starts chatting to me, and I'll have a conversation the entire train ride. And it's just cool being able to like share stories and hearing other people's like life, you know, what they're doing and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Robbie told me like a really interesting story that and an experience that you had in Harlem, like at skate park, at the skate spot 125th and 5th. You know that like
Which one
those
is that?
green blocks. It's like
Oh,
three
yeah,
green
yeah.
blocks. Like, so you know, for those who don't know, Harlem is a predominantly like African American area. This area is specifically like this spot is surrounded by projects as well. And like
the hood, as you say.
Harlem banter is like generally like, you know, for lack of like a better term, it's like ball busting, like rib poking. It's like, oh, look at this motherfucker, right? You know what I mean? Type.
Yeah, yeah.
Excuse my French, but it's like, look at this guy right here. You know, and so Robbie had a pretty interesting encounter that I thought it would be cool if you
Do you want me to talk about
if
it?
you wanted to share that.
Yeah. So like,
Let's hear
we basically, me and John Jenkins got to the spot early, and it was he and I just sitting, kind of waiting for the other guys to turn up. And there were these 3 guys just kind of behind us, like hanging out, and they were like, "Yo!" And I turned around and I was like, "Hey, what up? Like those skates, rollerblades?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Yeah, sick." And then I just decided to like get up and just go over to them, and I had one skate on actually, so I hopped over on one skate, and then I showed them my skate, and they're like, "Damn!" Like, I remember when I got into skating was like 20 years ago. And then like just had like, you know, a really nice conversation with the guys, like talking about skating, talking about I'm from Australia. And I was like, "Hey, what have you been up to today? You know, you're just hanging out." They're like, "Yeah, we're getting, you know, we're just getting drunk." So yeah, they were drinking at the time, but they were having a good time.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, all right, that's cool." You know, it's a nice day.
Yeah.
And kept talking, and one of the guys, his name was Scrappy. He
Yes.
very nice
The
fellow.
story
He-
got really good really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great story.
I think he was in his 50s, looked very, very good for his age. And
Nice.
so he goes to me, he's like, "Would you like to drink some Jameson with me? You drink Jameson?" I was like, I mean, I really don't drink very often, like at all. But, you know, it's like in those moments, I was just like, "Sure, man." You know,
Yeah.
like, "Oh, yeah, I'll drink some with you." And he's like, "All right, you keep skating, I'll get you later." And I was like, I didn't really think anything of it, because I thought like maybe he would just, you know, go off and
Yeah.
it would just amount to nothing.
Yeah.
But literally he came back like 30 minutes later, and he'd bought a brand new bottle of Jameson whiskey from a liquor store, obviously.
What?
And he's like, all right, you go get the cups. So I went across the. I was like, all right, he's actually done this, right? So I went across the street and I got these, just plastic cups. Came back and I'm like, all right, cool. We'll just have a shot. And what I didn't realize is because I thought he was just going to go upstairs and grab his bottle and come back or something.
Yeah, yeah.
He goes to the store, buys a brand new one, but he didn't just buy it for himself. He bought it to actually give to me to take away.
What?
Yeah. And I was like, oh no, Scrappy, that's so nice of you, but it's for real. I don't drink, it's very rare. This is gonna take me a year.
Yeah.
And these lovely ladies who were around him, like one of them was like at one point, she's like, no, you got to take this from him, honey, because like he's trying to do a really nice thing for you. Like he wants to give this to you. And in that moment, I realized I was like, man, Scrappy, that's so nice of you, dude. Like. I'm seriously like, this probably will take me a year, but every time I take a little sip, I'm gonna remember Scrappy.
Yeah.
And like. Just I don't know. It's the whole kind of experience out of that, and I had a conversation with them maybe for like half an hour. Like,
damn.
I got their phone numbers. Like, one of the ladies' name was Grace, and we exchanged Instagrams. But it was just like talking to them, and like I feel like in those environments, it's like I just like chatting to people because hearing what they're up to and what they're up to. But I also think it's a nice thing to like, I'm from Australia. I'm not American. I'm not from New York. I'm in Harlem, skating somewhere I've never skated before, and they're seeing someone, who doesn't probably look like they live in the area. So I think it's nice to approach them to be like, hey, what's up? Like, we're just, wasn't saying like, I guess I was saying like, yeah, we're just skating here and just hanging out, but just be friendly and to like interact and to kind of like show that you're just a regular person as well, even though, your lives may be completely different, and give them the time of day just to like share something. And for real, like, I mean, I'll remember that like moment probably for the rest of my life.
Totally.
Yeah. And I even said to Scrappy, like, I was like, I do have your number now, so I think I will probably hit you up every time I take a sip because I'll remember that bottle.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, yo, Scrappy, just hitting the Jameson, just having a good time.
That's sick.
So,
I did not
it's
expect
nice.
that story to turn out that way. I thought he like had a bottle in his back pocket. I'm like, oh, it's kind of sketchy taking like someone's like personal shit, but he went and bought it for you.
Grace, one of the ladies, gave me a whole fresh box of like mixed fruit, beautiful mango, blueberries, kiwi fruit, and she's like, no, you give it to your friends, you enjoy it. And I was like, no, like this is your food, you can't just give this to me. Like as in like that's so kind, but I really appreciate it. But she was very nice and insisting, so I was like, all right, this is great. But I opened up, I was like, nah, you gotta have some before I take it over to the boys. So they got some mango and then we all ate it, and it's good.
See, people think New Yorkers are assholes.
That's New York,
People think New Yorkers are assholes, but we're nice people.
Yeah, no, it's a very community city.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, we are assholes, I guess, but we're also nice assholes.
Yeah.
You're very honest, and that's what I like. I think like the nature of like being so condensed with so many people kind of like gives off maybe this stereotype of this attitude that everyone is like really hard and like not wanting to interact. But I think it's a byproduct of having to live so close that like you give each other the kind of space, like if you're on the train like really close together or whatnot. But in the right sort of environment, in the right times, like, I feel like people are very approachable, and if anything, they're not fake. Like, they'll tell you like a yes or a no, they'll tell you exactly what they think, and it's like, I really respect that, and I kind of like that attitude that you're not being like, there's no like fluff, it's very honest and authentic.
Yeah, I respect that too, and that's a really well put assessment. I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think people here really appreciate individuality, because I've just noticed so many different people just doing like their own thing, and it's just
That's
like
New York.
Yeah, I respect.
That's why people are so interested to probably talk to you. Also, they see
Maybe.
you're not like
right.
like everyone else, and they
Yeah, I mean, I've been getting a lot of comments on like the way that I dress, just like people pass like. Patrick filmed one this lady the other day. We were in this park up in Harlem, and she was walking by, and she goes, "That was so hot."
No way.
Or something like that. It was but like someone else is just like,
"Oh, that's real hot."
Yo, put the
shout
sound
out, Ant.
edited right here.
Ooh, that's really hot.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it's been really nice just hearing like what people like have to say about that, and I mean, you're not always gonna get. You're always going to get positive things, of course.
Yeah.
You speak so highly of New York. Would you ever consider moving here?
This trip has honestly made me consider it.
This is the one?
Like wholeheartedly. Yeah.
It's the Jameson.
No,
Maybe.
no, but I know what you mean about that. Like, yeah, if you would have came in February, you might have felt different. But yes,
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Like when it's a beautiful time in New York, the interaction.
But
is different.
you know, I was hanging out with Michael D'Andrade and his good friend Hector.
Yeah.
And this was the other day, and like we were talking about that, and I was saying that one of the main things about moving to New York that always kind of like maybe a bit hesitant was because of the winters, and in Australia and Melbourne it doesn't get to the point where it snows or that kind of cold, so I haven't really lived through that. And I love skating all year round, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think it was Hector who said that it kind of weeds out all the kind of like assholes, I think he said.
No, totally.
In the sense that like
so?
in the sense that there's so much like people that are always kind of here.
I get the
and
idea.
that like the people that stay through the kind of year are like people who are like committed and who love the
You
kind of
earn it.
city.
You
Because
earn
I
the
could
summer,
imagine
yeah.
the city is also very transient. You get lots of tourists and like people that come, I don't know, maybe they've got work stints for like 6 months or something, and it's like, oh shit, better sorry to swear, but like,
No,
yeah,
it's-
just to like split, you know, kind of like
you can
real
swear
quick,
if you want.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This guy's in New York. He's cursing all the time now.
Hey, get the fuck out of here.
I'm just trying to blend in.
You clearly blend in.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. Like in New York, like you were saying about the individuality, it's like it really draws that and breeds that, and it's like it's like an admired and encouraged thing. I think generally by the people in the
Yeah.
But I think as well, even if you like translate that to skating history, I think also a lot of the very like, you know, people that have come out of New York in terms of skating who are like recognized in the world, I think you all have very individual styles and approaches, and you're all like identifiable as your own thing. You know, the both of you, you know, you've got Mike Johnson, you've got someone like like Ryan Jacqueline.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
You know, like the across the board, like you're all kind of like, I don't know, maybe it is within the culture, then it translates to skating that you're all like trying to fight for your
Yeah,
own kind of
probably
like
does.
you know, idea and of how you want to present yourself.
You're a very analytical guy, I've realized.
Yeah, a little
That's
bit.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you're spot on with a lot of this stuff. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, I guess I feel like I've always been a pretty good like observer. You know, I like to understand things. You know, so I've always liked to you know, research and to just hear stories and find out how things are the way they are and why that they are and what influences people to do those things, and like, you know,
Connect the dots.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, if you only experience one thing, it's so common to just be like, the like what's foreign is fearful to you. You know that,
Yeah.
like, you know, to be closed off to like someone doing something different to you. But it's like it's like the same thing of like going and just talking to someone, of just hearing someone out and hearing what. How they do things or what their life is like, and it's like there's so much to learn through creating dialogue. You know, it's whether
Totally.
that's just
I 100% agree.
yeah, and so yeah, I don't know. I've just always been intrigued by like learning more about things, and I feel like that's. I never want to feel like it's like there's a cap on like evolving or knowledge or anything in life.
Never.
I don't think
That'll never be the case anyway.
Yeah,
No matter what you're doing, there's always so
Yeah.
much to learn
There's
out
always
there.
room
All
to
these
grow.
different people
Yeah.
to meet.
totally, exactly. And it's like how I am now, you know, it's like I hope to be a better version of myself in 10 years, 20, you know, and so forth, you know, like that's just how I like to see it, you know. I don't
Yeah.
think like how I am now is like some concept of like, I know it all, you know, it's like some
Yeah.
perfect idea of who I am or what I want to be. And it's like, you know, there's always room to find out more things, you know, internally and externally, I think. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's badass.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, that's very well
Damn.
said. That's
That's
very well
awesome.
said.
Yes.
We were talking about this.
Welcome
briefly
to the podcast.
we were talking about this briefly, kind of like with the Kelsels, how like when you
Yeah.
look back at yourself in like past generations, like
Yeah.
you see how far you've come.
Sure.
You see that a lot in yourself too.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Like, I mean, I was always someone who, like, I think it's like a byproduct of maybe being like redheaded. Is like, so I felt like kind of ostracized as a kid in a way because I like stood out and was different, you know, like everyone gets made fun of. But like, I think because of that, I never felt like, as a personality as a kid, I never felt to be the top person in a social situation or a group or something. So I always sort of felt like second. So I always kind of looked at other people who were these sort of like alpha figures, you know, people who were extroverted, who had kind of like more of a like defined personality or something, as like, wow, you know, like they're so cool. Like, you know, like I would love to be like them, or like there's something about them that's inspiring. And so I always took inspiration from other people. Like I remember like one of my first influences, like that was really strong, was like John Elliott. And then like Brandon Mattia was like a really another one. And then as in like I basically just tried to look and skate like them.
Right.
You know, so if you ever saw old photos of me, that's, you know, it would sort of just look like them. Carbon
That's sick.
copy.
That's sick. That like Brandon Mattier is one of them.
I know. I was thinking that too.
He was the reason why I grew my hair long in the first place. Like,
Really?
because like I just, he was sort of like, you know, I think like he was of the times, but he also had always this kind of like quirky side to the way he skated and his approach to like his tricks and everything. You know, he did really, really big stuff, which is obviously very
different.
like of that era,
Of that time,
yeah. But he would always do kind of slightly different stuff. He'd do stuff that's like
Definitely.
a Christ
Yeah,
grind,
he was big
or
on the
like
Christ.
zero spin illusions,
Yeah.
and like
Yes. Yeah.
And so like I was always intrigued by people that just did something a little bit kind of different.
John Elliott's the same way too.
Yep, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one of the first things that took me to like wanting to really, like, I suppose, dress differently was Ollie Short and Micah Yeager. They were like kind of the two people that were like really influential on that. And particularly I remember like Ollie Short, there was a photograph in Daily Bread. It was a Lucky 7, and he's doing this fish brain on this like end of a fence, and even that is like this like unusual kind of trick for the time. And just like how he looked, like his whole presentation,
Well, he was just different altogether.
yeah,
everything
or at least
about
at that time he like fully changed the way that he was. And
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't know, I just saw like if he's doing that, like I would love that, you know, just to do that too. So I kind of just like went and did that, and it really wasn't a subtle kind of change, so to speak. Like it really was. I was wearing, I suppose, like, you know, XL size t-shirts and such, and then I just started wearing smaller size clothes, you know, and kind of from there I just, and it was informed by like I was getting more into music, and like you were saying before, me being analytical, I would look at like all these photographs of that time and see how people were dressing and whatnot, and it would to see that like people would do something that you don't see in the present day always intrigued me. And I just kind of got inspired to sort of try to like replicate that in a way, you know, to just do it for myself because it seemed kind of fun. And because I didn't necessarily feel like I had an extroverted personality, it was more of like an opportunity to kind of like dress up. I didn't think of it at the time, but I feel like that's what I was doing. Like putting on like kind of like an outfit. And when you go out into the world, I feel like particularly like at that time when I was like only 18, it forced me to sort of develop like a confidence and a sense of a feeling that like you're doing it because you want to do it, and you're not like dissuaded by people like.
Were you scared to make that transition?
Not really. Like, I mean, just I don't know. Like I said, I feel like it developed a lot of like self-confidence, and I became like really empowered by that whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, and empowered by like someone making like a negative comment towards you, you know, like if I was like skating, like my skating friends had to like, you know, adjust to like the way I was looking, you know, because it was only me and my friend Baz who were wearing, you know, tight clothes at the time. And then even like just going out like, you know, to an indie nightclub or something like at 18 and 19, I would be like having to like pass, you know, just very like alpha male type guys, you know, and like I'm just dressing very flamboyant. I didn't have any facial hair, so like I could, you know, be maybe identified as a female or whatnot, and I just had to kind of like persevere through that whole experience. And I think I became very empowered by like, you know, being like, all right, you know, I survived that. That's good. You know, I'm not like scared to like go out into the world and do things how I wanted to do them. And I feel like as you just kept doing it, like people kept asking me, you know, after it's like, you know, in my mid-20s or whatever, and it's like, man, I've been dressing like this for like, you know, more than not in a way, you know, and it just feels kind of normal. And I feel like, I don't know, it just seems like once you start doing it for long enough as well, people just identify you as that's the way it is. Because I remember like even when I was, you know, in my early 20s, like maybe when I first was like on the international scene of the skate world, so to speak, maybe there was like some like criticism or hesitation to be like, whoa, what's this guy doing, like, you know, dressed this way or whatever. But you just learn to sort of like, I learned very as when I was a lot, in my early 20s, that putting focus on the negativity that you're being received doesn't benefit you whatsoever. I would rather put my attention and my focus on the people who are around me, who actually support me, who love what I do, and who are interested in seeing me do my best. My family, my friends, my peers, all of those people. It's like they're the ones telling you, like, dude, I love what you do. Like, we love you. You're a great person. Like, not someone who says, like, you look like an anorexic zombie or something, or whatever. Just some random comments. Like, I remember someone brought that to my attention, something like that once. But it's okay. It's like I said, sometimes things that are different to people, they express them in interesting ways.
In a way, you kind of know you're doing something right when you're getting criticized for it. You're doing something different, and you're pushing the limits in some way, the boundaries.
Right, for sure. I mean, I think that always does seem to like be the kind of like nature of that sort of thing. If you're doing something that might be inherently considered controversial or something. Yeah.
So do you think, because I was actually going to ask, like, like skate influences, fashion influences, right?
Yep.
But so you went from the baggy clothes to, like, you said, like a tighter thing, and then you said you were feeling like empowered in these situations. And so is that like something you took and ran with, or like what like inspires? Because obviously you have a very like unique fashion, and like we were talking, like you being in the streets in New York, people like hollering and saying things.
That happened kind of in its own thing, because like I was always inspired by different periods of music and fashion. So they always like coincided. So at first I was really inspired by New York 70s punk scene. The New York Dolls was like the biggest. Like Johnny Thunders was like
Staten
my
Island
thing.
David Johansen's from Staten Island.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Wow. I
saw him on the S48 bus about 5 years ago.
Really? I'd love to run into him. That's amazing.
It's probably like 10 years ago. But I'm sorry.
So I basically was into them, and then I like got really into the 60s. And again, it's just like finding out these new like generations of people doing different things creatively, so like I really got into like the late 60s, like particularly like the English psychedelia area, and I would like dress like that, like these very like ornate jackets and neckerchiefs and
totally.
like but then as I was always going through it, like I couldn't wear that stuff skating, so to speak, or at least I felt at the time, because like I didn't have a lot of money, I was younger, and I was like, I don't wreck my stuff. So I was like searching for a way to like find a fashion that would work with skating, and then I remember I got real into like late 60s American I guess hippie fashion and stuff at the time, like Crosby, Stills and Nash and Jefferson Airplane and stuff. So like that was something I felt like could translate to skating. So if you look at like my Seven Rats and like Valor for Life period stuff, that's kind of like where I was at. And then like it like evolved into kind of going back to like the spirit of like the New York stuff, of being like I always loved the Rolling Stones, and like Keith Richards is one of my biggest like fashion inspirations. And so like it kind of like went back and forth for I suppose like a good while. But at some point, I felt like doing something, like it's like with skating. You get to some point, if you're doing something for so long, you understand it really well, and you kind of have developed a palette for yourself, the same way as your trick vocabulary. And it's like, oh, how can I express myself in my own way through that? So at some point, after like dressing in my own ways for 10 years, I started just to thinking of like, oh, how can I incorporate, sort of disparate elements together that might be fun, and like expressing myself kind of more in my own way through my clothing, as opposed to like researching, I call it researching, but like, I have tons of books of like Rolling Stones and like
just being influenced.
Of like Keith Richards and stuff, and just like, oh, I would love like how that belt was worn, or how that scarf was worn. And it's like, then I started to think about how I can incorporate, elements of clothing in my kind of own way. And that's where I feel like now when I dress, over the past maybe like 3 or 4 years, has been more of an extension of like my own creative ideas of how I'm having fun like dressing and thinking up outfits and stuff. It's like, I mean, even before I came out to New York, like I just thought about like, these two tops, like the Hawaiian shirt, I'd never worn it over my ruffle shirt before, and I just thought of it together.
Oh, that's what's going on there. I didn't notice that. You're getting a lot of compliments in your shirts, by the way.
Oh, thanks. But that was just the thing. I was just like, oh, I'm going to try that, put that together, and I was like, oh, wow, this really looks cool. I'm going to try to wear that as an outfit. And I kind of do that, like, and I think about outfits when I go skating, because I've always felt like when I feel good the way, like, with how I dress and how I look, it makes me feel good when I go out into the world, and particularly when I skate. You know,
That's
like,
what Rollinson Rivera had a very different dressing style than you, but he said the exact same thing.
Right.
You got to dress.
Is that Hoax 5?
Oh, yeah.
You dress fresh, you skate fresh, you got to look fresh, baby. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like I feel like
same philosophy.
Totally.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right. I feel like fashion and clothing, like, of course it has different elements, and it could be something that's like completely alienating, and it's not someone's like, bag, and it's not their thing. But I really do feel like fashion is something that has the power to be sort of transformative, that it can empower people for the better. And at least for myself, that's how I find it within my choices of clothing, that it gives me a sense of empowerment. It's a way I express myself. It's kind of like in the same way, I think of it in the same way as like, I do with any of my other artistic kind of practices, in a sense of like, if you're thinking of photography, you're thinking of composition, you're thinking of color, how you put things together. I think in that in the same way as when I put together an outfit in terms of texture, color, uniformity, shape, all sorts of things. So I kind of feel like when I get up in the morning and I put something together, it's sort of it's like a little kind of like art project, that's done kind of quickly, so to speak. So it's fulfilling. So
it's like fun. Yeah. You have fun with it.
I never thought about it that way, because obviously I don't do that. Like I just put a t-shirt and pants on and that's it. Like, how long does it take you to pick like an outfit out for the day or something? Like you actually like look forward to that when you wake up, kind of thing.
I mean, sometimes it can be stressful, because because of that looming idea that if you leave the house not feeling right, it affects your mentality the rest of the day. So I don't know. Sometimes you might go back to a safe bet or something like, I love how those two things go together. But I don't know. I think as I was sort of saying earlier, that it's sort of like skating, and I think that you develop this kind of way of how you want to approach, I think about how I want to approach the way that I dress now, in terms of I've done it for so long. I know it's almost have an education, so to speak. And I feel like that works in the same with skating, is that if you skated a long period of time, you understand your capabilities, the tricks that you kind of are good at or you like to do. And I feel like I got to a point where I took that same mentality, but towards skating.
I was gonna actually say now that you've explained that, I can see how it's relatable in your skating and how you've because I think generally over the past few years, or I bet as long as I've known you, you kind of experiment with these new ways, or not normally traditional ways of skating, and so I could see that.
Was that influenced by your fashion? Did your mindset change on fashion influence your mindset change on skating, or were they hand in hand kind of thing?
It seems like just a mentality, right?
I think they just sort of both coincide, and they're sort of the exact same sort of process.
Yeah.
But I think with skating, I feel like I grew up having a very traditional skating upbringing. I would learn grinds on ledges and flat rails and switch ups and do drop rails and gaps. There's not a lot of footage of me, I suppose, on the internet of that era. I mean, I think there are, but there's not tons. But if you look at it, it's very much of that time, and it
early
really
2000s-ish kind of thing.
Yeah, and really was about 2005 onwards where I started dressing differently. But I don't even think the skating really kind of went in that sort of way. But I think the period was 2014, 2015. I remember I came on the trip to the US, and I had been going through university a lot at the time, and I hadn't skated as much. And when I came here, it was so fun. I was reconnecting with so many friends that I hadn't seen for so long, and I skated the most that I had in ages. It was almost 3 months or something. So I came back so invigorated, and I remember feeling when I would go skating, I felt at that point no pressure to skate a spot if I didn't feel comfortable doing it, or also just wanting to do something there. I felt because I feel growing up, particularly in the 18 to 20 sort of period where I started filming for a video part and that stuff, and you really get into that idea of I gotta do tricks at every spot, and I kind of sort of lost that inhibition to do that, and I was okay with it. I was fine to be able to. I felt it didn't give me any because I feel there's anxiety that's associated with that. If you go somewhere and you 100%. Feel you have to perform at every spot.
100%.
And maybe even feeling as well, because there was you know, my early 20s, I'd started skating for Valo, like in Australia, and there was that like pressure I put on myself to like, I have to skate everything because, you know, like I'm on this platform and people see me and stuff. But like I said, about 2015, I just started really to think like, you know, it's okay. Like if I don't skate the spot, that's fine. You know, like I'll find something that's
else.
like happy to me.
Yeah.
And I just took that approach kind of like continually there and after, and like tricks and clips just started coming. Like as in they just started happening, and like, you know, like Zigzag and Main Dish was like the first footage that came out since Seven Rats, and like, you know, that was just fun, and it was very easy getting that. And then I remember I was like, oh, I want to, you know, maybe like it'd be cool to film a part, and Dom asked me to be a part of chapter 2, and it was just like the same sort of process. I kept like just going out and skating, and instead of like thinking about skating every kind of spot, I sort of like left it open to basically. You spoke about it with Gav, because Gav, like me and Gav are like best friends, and we spoke about this. Gav Drum, to anyone who's
Shout out
listening.
Gav Drum.
Yeah. Hello, Gav. So Gav has, you know, that philosophy where he goes to a spot and allows like the spot to speak to him, and he, instead of like, what do I force on the spot, what's the spot telling me to do? So I kind of like inherited a bit of that as well, and I found that like I was more interested in seeing what like the spot is going to bring out to me, and I kind of kept that sort of approach going. And one of the things I realized out of like the way I was skating is that I was inherently forming like choreography. It was less about the individual tricks, you know, as going to a spot and doing like a true spin, fish brain down a handrail. It was more about how I incorporated these different tricks together over, and how you moved through a space. You know, and then like maybe they're not always like the hardest of tricks, you know, maybe they're like just top soles or their sweat stance or fish brains or whatever. But I was more interested in how I like moved through a space and like incorporate all these things
pattern
together.
and like the rhythm and all that.
Yeah. And sort of just also because like growing up skating and studying skating, like watching so many skate videos and, you know, just being like a scholar of aggressive skating, is that like, I know how like, what's done, you know, so to speak. And it was like I was always more interested. I started to become more interested in like, well, how can you like, you know, how can you challenge what has already been done, you know? And another thing that I always hated, which is exactly the same way as which comes down to the fashion, is like you can't dress like that, or you can't express yourself like this. In skating, I find it really sort of frustrating in a way that I grew up with these like inherent rules. Like you can't do that. Like you can't do these tricks. You have to do these tricks this way. And I feel like they're just like, they're sort of limiting to the possibilities of expression. And I developed the appreciation that like you can do any trick. It's how you do it, not what the trick is. And so with that, I found like more interest in exploring ways in which to challenge, you know, how you would approach a spot. Maybe it's like, it's not just like the trick that you do, but how you like move through that space. And instead of going, you know, linear, but like straight and then down, maybe you go to the side and then back this way. And it's like, becomes like this, like if you were to draw like the line or however you go down, it like creates its own kind of form as opposed to like the standard kind of thing. But I feel like going to skates,
I really like that mentality.
Sagona was like that too, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he had like a lot of that.
Yeah, he focused a lot on like in between the tricks. Like the in between tricks were the tricks that made it. Like it wasn't just the main thing.
It's not the trick. It's the
in between stuff.
It's the whole start to finish.
Yeah.
I remember he said that in I think it was the One magazine interview he had, that you could like take any still frame of a video and it's like it should all look really good.
Oh shit!
You know, in some form.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I it's like that just approach is just like how I find like the most fun out of skating, you know, and like every so often I'll go to a normal rail and like, I'll try some tricks I haven't done, you know, in a while, like, I'll, you know, and like that is also satisfying, you know, just doing regular basic tricks because that's what I grew up doing. But I do find the most like fun when I'm like going out and not having like any kind of idea of how I want to skate something and just sort of finding something in what's in my environment.
I totally think that point right there is actually like similar to like, you know, at the end of Brain Fear Gone, like Dustin and Shane are talking, and he's like, you can go get crazy if you want, and he's like, but you could also get weird, get like this, that, and it's just like the possibilities like could be explored, and I like the the choreography idea, like like, you know, not about it being solely about the trick, because at least in our era and how we grew up in New York, like we were like that was totally, it was about the trick. Like, you know, we used to
For
like
sure.
battle skate and everything, like be like, yo, it's about doing the best trick and all that.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Well, you're also good at it.
well, you know, it was like I think the natural progression from being a part of something at like such an early point, like and you had been through that too. But
Yeah.
like it's cool to see it have like grown to so many possibilities and like this as well, because that's
Yeah.
like really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like being open to possibilities and just like also looking at how other people are doing things, you know, and just being observant and like, it's in the end, it's just like finding things what you find fun in skating. You know, like no one has to skate exactly the same, and no one should. You should just like skate and experiment. And I guess this is evident. I didn't always skate this way. It's just developed into this is how I like skating like right now, you know, and this is how I find the most fun. You know, like when I was 15, I had a blast when we'd go to these flat rails and just do 3 switch ups and stuff, you know. So I think like if you just skate and you just enjoy it and just like constantly, you know, try challenge yourself every time, you know, like do something a little bit different.
Or like you said, make it fun, because like, you know, like the skating the rail is cool and it's like, but there's definitely like an anxiety like to it too, but it's like where there's value in it for sure. But then just like, you know, don't forget to have fun.
Yeah.
You know, you're on got wheels
Well,
on your feet, boy. Like, you know,
I think
right?
carve around.
I think
like,
the fun is the best way to describe, especially your skating itself, because you
Right.
could tell that you have fun when you're skating, when you watch it. I feel like that's a good way to describe the way you skate, especially your chapter
thanks.
2 section.
Yeah.
Like that section, obviously it's different than everyone else's section, but
Right.
like it starts off and you immediately like have a nice laugh with the intro clip, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, this is the kind of like vibe you're getting.
Sure,
And your whole section, like aside from other sections that you had as well,
Sure.
but everything you could tell you're having so much fun skating, and it really like brightens the mood. And that's that part of the video. It's I'm just using chapter 2 as an example because you just mentioned it, but that was like the part in the video where you could tell, like you could like, oh, this is like really, like you have a smile on your face when you're watching it. Other sections might motivate you, like, oh, this is crazy, I want to go out and try this now. And your section's like, wow, this was just really enjoyable to watch.
Oh, I'm glad it translates.
Yeah, and it
That's
definitely
really
it definitely is that way. And you keep saying fun when you describe skating, and that's like 100% translate. Like I can see that from an outsider eye that it translates instantly.
I will say this. I do still think that skating, for me, there's kind of like when you go to like do tricks and go out to like, you know, because I feel like I as much as I'm talking about fun and I do really like it, I take it seriously.
Yeah, no,
so
totally,
like when I do find a trick, sometimes I think inherently there's this like dichotomy between a love and hate thing in skating. Because you know when you're like, we've all experienced it, you're like in the midst of a trick and it's agonizing, you can't get it. And like, I get so much anxiety about like
too,
just doing the trick. I'm like, I want this over with now. You know, like anything could happen. I could fall really badly or whatever. And I just like, I just want to do it. I want to get it perfect how I want to do it. And like, yeah, it's like, I always have to come back to remind myself in those moments of like, okay, just, you know, just do it casual, you know, like try to make the fun out of the whole thing. But there is always for me, because I have anxiety about like when I go to do tricks, and I'm inherently a scaredy cat, like with anything that I do in skating. But I have a very methodical kind of process to like get myself to do the tricks that I do. It's like I'll go there, I'll kind of figure it out. You know, I might just like play around with this or that, and when I feel comfortable enough, like I'll speak to whoever, and at least if this is for filming, I'll speak to whoever. I'm like, okay, I think I'm all right, ready to do this. And one thing I will say that changed my perspective to skating is my good friend Malcolm Hurd. When I started filming with him, when I moved to LA, he really opened up my idea to like be more fluid and let go of like my perfectionism, because I was so always growing up to be like, oh, it has to be like this, you know, it has to be my exact idea of how it is. But by doing so, by being so rigid, you actually lose the opportunity to allow the kind of like spontaneity of like your movements, which are like ingrained, which are just in you from so many years of skating, that you just move a certain way how to get out of a situation because you're like a little bit off or whatever. And his approach was like, we'd look at a take, you know, of a trick that I did, and basically he would be like, dude, that's the one. Like, and I started to realize like, yeah, I could never replicate the way I moved out of that trick if I wanted to. And I started to really embrace the looseness of all of those things. And those are like the special things that I always enjoyed in other people's skating, like Dominic Sagona or whatever, you know, like
the imperfections.
He's such a cat. Like he'll, you know, like be up in the, you know, flying and then just like land on the ground. You're like, well, how do you do that? But that's what's so captivating because then it adds so much of his own unique personality. And I found if I refined my stuff too much, maybe like I wasn't enjoying it, and I'm also maybe losing a bit of the character out of it. So I started to be more kind of like open to like embracing those kind of quirks and kind of unusual things that you may just do out of instinct. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point because
We used to always get like that too, like everything had to be perfect kind of thing.
yeah,
But I think,
but it's like sorry.
no, I think like with like us personally, someone like us, I don't mean to speak like on your behalf, but the imperfections come with the laziness of getting older and not like like filming so much, I guess.
Right.
But we used to always get the same way too. Like everything had to be
Sure.
perfect. Even when we played like skate, like your trick had to be perfect, otherwise you didn't count. And you got the letter,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
like stuff like that. But the imperfections that make your trick, like if it looks good, then yeah, that's definitely it adds the style and a little bit of flavor, you know.
Yeah.
And I was also, not to cut you up, but I was also thinking like with that same like philosophy, like you see like someone like Brian Aragon who did like everything perfect all the time, like some of like
Yeah.
the tricks that are like the most interesting that came from him, whereas like if he did like a true top acid and his like foot came
Like,
up
hung a
because he
little bit, yeah.
never
Yeah.
made those things, so like
Yeah.
I could completely relate
Yeah.
to that sentiment
Uh-huh.
right there.
Totally.
Yeah.
You learn to grow in those things.
Yeah, for sure.
Real quick shout out, Chris Brown. We have a super chat from $5. The super chat is like people could donate in the chats now that we're
Okay.
live.
Wow, cool.
So we got a $5 donation from Chris Brown.
Hell
From-
yeah.
From a Chris Brown of some sort.
Hell yeah, Chris Brown.
Oh, Chris Brown.
Big thanks to Chris Brown. So you've been like filming a lot of stuff lately, right? And you,
Yeah.
I don't want to like
No,
get into
no,
that.
no.
I don't know unless you
Oh,
wanted to,
yeah, sure, yeah.
because you said you were working on something else.
Yeah,
coming up.
Yeah, I've been working on something for about just a bit over a year now, and just like the same mentality we were talking about before, you know, it just evolved into what this is now, into something much greater, and yeah, I'm really excited to finally like release it to everyone. But it's I feel like with every sort of skate part that I've done, I've always tried to like approach it a little bit differently and to see how I can like not only approach my tricks, you know, in like a kind of more explorative kind of way, but also just like the whole kind of aesthetic. Like I don't want to have the same skate park again that I
Yeah,
did
yeah.
the one before.
Yeah.
So I feel like, you know, like chapter 2 is different to Paycheck, you know, and Paycheck is different to Burn LA, and like Burn LA will be different to Valo 6 when Valo 6 comes out, and like this new part will be again different again.
Yeah.
But I always like use these projects as a way to like explore new ways of like presenting myself to the world, and the way that I kind of want to see myself in skating, you know, and just like it's the total project is another form of expression, you
Yeah.
know? And so yeah, it's like it's been great. It's been very loose. Like I've just been like, you know, getting footage over the course of the year, and
You've
yeah,
been filming for a while, a year and a half already.
Yeah, it was like it'll be all them footage.
Mm-hmm. So at least like a year.
So
Yeah, about almost a year and a
basically, it's like it began since when I got back from Winter Clash last year, and so yeah, I've
little over a year.
I've like it's almost done, and I'm really really proud of like how it's really come together,
Oh,
and
nice.
like everyone who's been helping me along the way. Like
It's just you, or are you making a whole video thing?
It's just me.
Okay,
It's
okay.
just me.
Okay.
And yeah, like, you know, all sorts of various people have been helping me film. Like Sean Das has helped
Mm-hmm.
me like extensively over the course of it. Malcolm and, you know, everyone else like along the way has like filmed a clip or two, and Brandon Smith has been helping me a lot. So like,
Yeah? No,
yeah,
nice.
it's like, yeah, it's been really great. I've been, I guess, you know, it'll just be seen when it's seen by people. But yeah, it's I'm always out there, you know, trying to film or help, you know, work on something else and filming a project for someone else or whatever. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you always like a filmer guy? Because I only found out recently when I started seeing you put out like edits,
oh right.
and I was like, oh shit, Robbie films and edits and stuff like that. Is
Well-
this new, or you always did that?
Well, so I didn't film for a very long time. But so basically, like I studied graphic design at university, but my like interest in like art and design and such has like basically stemmed. Like I always was interested in illustration and drawing and stuff as a kid. That was kind of my first introduction to art. But everything that I say creatively that I'm interested in came from skating. because I loved videos. I loved magazines. I loved the brands. I loved clothes. I loved the logos. Like, so I would like try to do the same thing. Like I had a clothing, t-shirt brand for years called Parallel that I did with my good friend Jared Thackeray. And that was because I loved like Mind Game t-shirts. I loved Be Unique. I loved, like the Senate logos. So I was like drawing them, and I started learning Photoshop because I wanted to create my own layout spreads and stuff. So like all the things I've interested in has come from that, and video was something I always loved too. So I studied like media studies in high school, but when I went to university, I went to art school, and then I went to university, but I focused on graphic design. So I never really practiced video as a solo thing in my education. But that was kind of because my friends were always the other ones filming. And so I didn't ever have a camera, so I just sort of let them, like, they sort of assumed the role of the filmer. And so that was Jared, like, when I was growing up. And then, like, when I moved to LA, that was Malcolm. And so when Malcolm wasn't filming anymore and I bought his camera from him, at least at that time, he wasn't filming, I sort of assumed the role as the filmer. And so it was, like, kind of my first opportunity to start making skate stuff. Like, I'd edited this crew video that Jared had been filming for like a couple of years, which came out in 2009. It was actually to be the 10-year anniversary, and I'm going to release it this year online for people to watch.
Oh, nice.
But I edited all of that and put that out. But from last year was kind of like the first time where I started to put out my own films. Skating films, anyway. Like with everything that I worked with them, all the film work, and then also with Burn LA. That was all like, that was kind of my first time.
And you had that like zine thing that you did, right?
Blade zine?
Yeah,
Blade zine,
yeah. Like, well, that started in Australia, and it was like, I always had this idea of like, how cool would it be if we just got like a whole bunch of skaters together and we watched skate videos in a cinema. And so that like started from that. Like I was doing these little cinema series, and then it was all kind of concentrated around doing stuff for community. And when I moved to LA, because I studied graphic design and I loved publication design, like making magazines and zines and stuff, I wanted to extend that to the possibility of doing that in skating. So I contacted, a whole bunch of my friends and also people who I didn't know but appreciated their work, whether it be photography, illustration, or whatnot, and just asked them if they wanted to contribute to this project as kind of a way to be like, hey, we could create something quite interesting here, because there isn't so much, print in inline skating at that particular time.
Totally.
So, yeah, I created that as like kind of an opportunity just to see what could happen with it. And I guess that also extends to doing like the Blade in Cinema stuff that I also did at Blading Cup, which was just a larger version of what I was doing in the small little bar cinema in Melbourne. Yeah. But like I did one in 2017, which was a retrospective of John Julio's video career, and then last year I did the one for Brandon Negretti, and
you flew some of the guys in, right?
Yeah, I flew Mike Lilly and Chase Rushing to come in as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was so good just to see like all of those guys like together. And I mean, they were saying to me,
Michael was out too, right?
I mean, like as I guess I said earlier, like Michael was like a huge inspiration for me when I was growing up, and I'd never met him before, and I know he was, I guess suppose like disconnected from the skating culture, hasn't really been around and hasn't been attending and that sort of thing. So to hear that he, to speak with him, and he was like really positive about wanting to come out and be a part of it, and just to see him like having such a good time, like seeing his old friends and everything was awesome, and just all of them sitting together and like celebrating the positive moments of like, I suppose the one thing is like one person brought all of those wonderful people together, and I think that's really lovely that they're all able to celebrate that together.
Yeah, totally. That's a really amazing accomplishment, because I'm sure Brandon would have been stoked for that too.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so. I mean, he was such a lovely person. Like he I stayed with him, for a little while. Just like I think it was about a week in LA in 2010. I'd met him in 2009, but like, yeah, he was just like such a fun, welcoming person. I couldn't get enough of being around him. He was so wonderful, and to finally to have met, the person behind, films, which was such influential to me growing up, was like great, because he was never the face of really any of those.
Totally.
So like, it was really cool to have that experience, and then in that moment to celebrate someone who's obviously given so much to skating.
Totally.
You know,
He's
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you're very involved in skating, with, like doing stuff like that, doing videos and all this and that, and you're traveling all over the place skating. It's cool to see that you're so heavily involved without
Thanks.
being like, I don't know, you're not like a company owner or anything, you know. So
Right,
to see
yeah.
someone that's so involved, like you're just representing pretty much
Well, I think it
everything.
Oh, thank you.
Like, yeah,
I think it really comes from Melbourne, like, you know, in the Australian scene, because, like, you know, everyone was, like, so united in some way, and, like, you know, Tim Ward in the early 2000s started this thing called Melbourne Skate Crew, and it was, like, he started these skate meets, which were, like, once a month, and you'd meet up in the street, and you'd go straight street spots, like,
That's sick.
together and stuff. It was really rad, and, like, there was always just a good community, kind of involvement, you know, or like if you wanted to be a part of it, you could.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just learned from all of those people, and I just felt kind of just inherently compelled to give back to something that I've like shared so much like good things from. And it's like
Totally.
it's just been like a constant thing of like doing small things always. And like I guess now it's like, for instance, with the Blading Cup thing, it's like doing an event at Blading Cup. It's
Yeah.
just like that feels like amazing to be able to do it on that scale. But it's just like equally, I'm happy to do it in a little bar, you know, like,
Totally.
or like I've done some at like the bookstore that I work at
Yep.
in Los
Yeah, I've
Angeles.
heard
And it's
about
like,
those. Mhm.
yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I just to be able to do stuff for the community is such like an important thing. Because without people doing stuff, it's like,
There's
you're,
nothing.
you're
yeah.
a testament to that exactly thing, you know, like
Thank you.
without having this podcast, you know, like, I mean, I know how much this has been like influential and like has probably inspired lots of people to pick up skating and stuff. So if there's more people with that kind of like, you know, attitude to do anything for skating, it's like you don't have to start a company, you don't have to start a podcast. It's like just see where your interests are, see where your strengths are, and like if you feel like you have the time to like, you know, do something, it's like give it a
Just
shot.
do it. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
You know, and
Why
like,
not?
You know, be inclusive rather than exclusive.
I agree with
You know?
that.
I always had this tagline: "Blade in, not out."
That's
Mm.
You
that,
know, like just yeah, you know, like we can. It's like
played in that. That's cool.
just yeah. There's more that we can learn from one another than not. I mean, like it's not to say that every skater we're all going to be best friends and we're all going to have like everything in common. But skating is the commonality, you know, and it's like
So
if you
just-
can if you can just learn to coexist with one another, it's like going to like a skate event and then just like participating in a session. It's like you're learning to skate with people who are like, you know, different from you in a lot of different ways. You know,
That-
maybe your social political like perspectives are totally different, but in this moment you can just coexist and just, you know,
Forget all that
grind
stuff.
a quarter
Yeah.
pipe or something.
That's it.
Yeah,
Get
you know?
a fish brain in.
Yeah, that's what matters. Leave that stuff home. You know?
Yeah,
And
totally.
it's like,
And that's what it's about.
yeah.
That's what it's kind of part of what it's for. too.
I think like the gathering of people, just in general, is like I think like, one of the first things, most important things to growing anything is like awareness.
Yep.
So like any kind of event that anyone's doing, whether it's a contest, like a movie night, anything like that, like a screening, just a gathering, like Tim Ward was doing, just to get people together
Yeah.
to skate. Like
Definitely.
everybody always wants to
Make
be included
something,
in something.
do something.
Yeah.
Everybody, it's the easiest way to get a group together. It's be like, oh, there's a session this Saturday. Oh, everyone's going. I gotta go.
That's
Yeah.
it.
And then it creates awareness. It's like, oh, your friends are like, yo, you going hanging out this Saturday? Like, no,
Yeah.
I got a skate thing to do, like a skate thing, and then that person knows, and
Yeah.
it
Totally.
just helps growing.
My good friend Jared Thackeray would always, it's this little goofy thing we'd do in our crew. He would always say when we're trying to go to the next skate spot and everyone's lagging, as skaters
yeah.
we all know, he would go, making first move, hopefully everyone follows. And that's the mentality. If you just make the move,
Yeah, yeah.
if you like put a poster out, if you make a post, if you make the like thing
The
and say
initiative.
it's happening,
Yeah.
people will follow. If you just have to be the first one to do it, just take that courage and just do it.
Yeah.
Because people will follow. Even if it's a small amount, you're probably not going to be there alone.
Yeah.
And with the power of like social media and stuff, it's
Yeah.
like, hey, you know, like,
Why not? Right?
yeah, look at the stuff with Rob G, you know, with
Totally.
like, it's like, yeah, it's like and there's also that greater idea of what you can do for the culture globally, you know, like not only just like within your community or even in your country, but it's like we all have the opportunity to showcase what we do to other people, and like what we do is fun, you know, and if we have more opportunity to like allow people to see that and like be like, this is a good activity, you know, and there's
Totally.
a lot more things than just the actual act in itself that's really like
That makes it really
worthwhile,
great, yeah.
you know, in terms of like living as a human. You know, the community in skating is like inherently important.
Yeah.
And skaters are so individually different aside from skiing. Like you're thing into fashion.
Right.
Someone can come into fashion. Like
Yep.
I'm into like photography.
It
Let's say
encompasses
someone
so
into
many
like
different
music or whatever.
things.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like everyone's so different.
Well, first of all, so many good things said right there.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I
Open up for questions.
I want to ask you one thing before we open it up to
yeah.
questions.
Okay.
Just
I'll try to be a little bit quick.
Just a quick.
No.
No, dude, it's
Okay.
cool. So before we open it up to questions from our guests, and by the way, if you guys have questions, ask now.
Yeah,
so
get it
we
now.
we can have
Yeah.
them lined up. But so you're talking about wanting to get a green card, and you're in the process of maybe doing
Oh, right,
that.
yep.
So are you planning on staying? Are you planning on? Do you miss Australia? Do you want to come in the States?
Oh, right.
What's your plan? I'm curious.
Well, yeah, I've been living here now 3 years. And
Damn, it's been 3 years already.
yeah, it is amazing how fast the time goes by.
Yeah.
But to be honest, like I remember when I went back to renew my visa in 2017, like Melbourne and my experience in Australia almost seemed like a distant memory. It was like because this was my first time completely leaving my home country and to going somewhere like foreign. That like I was so like consumed by new stimuli and just new experiences and like learning from just having to survive on your own and just to take whatever new opportunities were going to come my way. And so that really felt kind of like, wow, like Melbourne is almost like something distant, but something that like when I went back, I remembered so much about like the things that I appreciate about the city and my friends and my family and my upbringing that's all like inherent there. But there is something that I've always kept close to me as I got older is that, and it extends back to a lot we've talked about. I feel like what you get the most out of in life is when you put yourself in a state of vulnerability, and when you put yourself on like the fringe where like you may be like scared or like uncertain about things, but you sort of have to inherently act. And I feel like going about that with life, like taking that jump to like move to the United States was like a really important thing for me to grow as a person. And I feel like I've learnt so much and done so much and also I suppose accomplished so much within that period of time that like it almost feels like if I were to go back to Melbourne at this point, I feel like it would be cutting that journey short. I feel like there's so much to learn out there in the world, and I feel like I need to continually explore that. And so to be here in the United States, I feel like that will just allow me the opportunity to continue to grow as a person and an artist, to see what can come. Because I really don't know. Hey, in like 5 years, I don't know what will happen. But I just like I'm always interested in just focusing on the stuff that I like and challenging myself to new things as I go along, like each year. And so if I could continue living in the States, I really feel like there's like the possibility of new opportunities. And also with the green card, like you mentioned, that will give me more opportunities to be able to explore those. Because currently, there's specifications to do with working and stuff that like don't allow you to have freedoms. As if like you're not a citizen if you get a green card, you're a permanent resident, so you're allowed to live. But it gives you like basically the same freedoms of work. You can like do something freelance. You can try this or have different income streams or whatever. And it's like I think like if I was allowed to have that, if that was able to happen, it would give me that opportunity. So
for example, you can't vote with the green card.
No.
Okay.
No, I think that's a common misconception.
Okay.
Yeah, it's literally it means you can live here and you can work. And it's timed. It's like a 10-year visa kind of thing.
Okay. So
Yeah,
it'd be
yeah.
like
10 years is a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, and I think it's like after 10 years, then you can apply for citizenship.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
It's the process.
well, I'm sure
Yeah.
I'm sure with your energy and your laws of attraction that seem to be around you, especially with the story with Scrappy and everything like that. that you
Scrappy
got,
can
Thank
vouch
you.
for you.
That-
I
You
hope
got Scrappy
so.
to vouch for
That
you.
I hope so.
that agree-
They seem
shout out Scrappy, shout out Grace,
they were lovely people. I will remember them for sure.
and I'm sure that you got if you're going for the green card, then you're very likely to get it.
Well, my interview's next Wednesday. So
Nice.
Oh, shit.
Fingers crossed.
Well, good luck. Good luck. I like what you said about like
Thank you.
you're pretty much comfortable being outside of your comfort zone, and that's like especially as like a creative or like an artistic type of person, that's like
Right.
a huge mentality to
Totally.
have for any type of like artistic person.
Yeah.
Because like when you're in one spot, it gets boring, and like a lot of people let's just say like regular quote unquote people, like they work the same job for however many years doing the same
sure.
thing, same hours, same people every day.
Yep.
But it gets stale and boring after a while. You can't grow and progress like that. You have to move on. Like you said, moving
You've
out.
both done that in your life.
Yeah, well, I'm saying everyone, like all
Well,
the skaters
of
probably
course.
have, like in some
For
way
sure.
or another, but like it's part of like traveling or just doing different things, like skating a different way, wearing different clothes, listening to different music.
Yep.
Everything opens up your eyes in a different way.
Yep.
And that helps you grow as a person. And you never want to stay the same. You never want to, stay in one spot the rest of your life. You're never going to like go anywhere like that,
And just like
Totally.
allowing the opportunities that present themselves to like, be able to do something with them as opposed. So it's just like having that,
Yeah.
having that.
Good and bad experiences, because experiences, inform your good ones, as well. So it's like not everything can be good,
Yeah.
and it's like just taking what comes to you and like learning from it.
But you learn a lot
know?
from the bad.
Exactly.
You learn the
Exactly.
most from
Yeah.
from those painful
You
moments.
learn what
and-
you learn what you are, what you're not.
exactly.
Or not what you want to be, or what you don't want to experience, or whatever. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to go. Yeah. Very well said.
Well, cheers.
Before we get into questions, one more time real quick, wanted to shout out our sponsor, Turtle Pillow.
Turtle pillows.
And check them out. They have...
Honestly, I've been sitting here with my neck here like this. I might have
you
to
want
take
to
that
rock a turtle pillow?
I might have to take the turtle pillow back for the drive home.
We should just
I
do
wanna
it
rock
with
one of
turtle
them.
pillows for
Right?
every podcast. Like just chill out.
I think I'm gonna have to invest.
No, honestly,
Yeah.
because I always got
they see so good.
I got an issue with that U-neck one, man.
So yeah, the U ones.
That's the thing
yeah,
of the
no
past.
good, no good. You need these high quality
Yeah.
turtle pillows. Keep your neck supported.
I've been watching CJ. He looks comfortable.
Yes, it looks good. Yeah.
He's performing very well out there. It could be
Yeah.
help to the turtle
And like we were
pillow.
saying, it fits for all necks. CJ's got like a thick little neck. So I mean, like all necks.
Protect your neck, CJ. Protect your neck.
Wow.
So everyone
No,
check out Turtle Pillow when you
I
can.
love CJ.
I love you, CJ.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Shout
know.
out Turtle Pillow.
Get your comfort in right there. Turtle
For sure.
Pillow. Thank you for sponsoring this episode. Check them out, everybody.
So,
And
do we got a couple questions?
well, I was gonna ask you this too, Mr. Self Destroy, real quick. How do you like the mic arm, real fast?
Oh, is it my question?
yeah, this is your
Oh.
question. I meant to ask you this too
Dude,
throughout the show.
I feel.
Do you like
pretty-
it better than the?
I
regular
feel pretty. I just feel sick.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll
I feel.
keep it like that
I
for
feel
now
more
on.
pro.
We'll keep it like that for now on. People want to know the skate company and Gomtech. People are curious if you could design a pro skate. Well, they're saying Pro 908, I guess, because you ride thems.
Right.
Like, what would your skate look like? Because you're such a fashion style person. What would you like?
Well,
Anything in particular?
I think that really just depends on the possibility of like
What
the
they could do.
technology, and what's possible. Because like, hey, if you got free reign, like to do anything, and there was like, no constraints in terms of budget or whatever, like, yeah, there could be some pretty flash fun things, you
Yeah.
know. But I think like kind of like if it was a thing, it would be somewhere in between, like something that I feel would be interesting and unique, but also something that I feel like everyone else could enjoy too. That it's not just like, it's not going to have ruffles and like,
Yeah.
like bling all over it or something.
Something that would-
Skates with ruffles.
Yeah, no, because
They say-
in the same thing, it's like it's taking. I think you can always still make things more interesting, and like maybe I would like bedazzle it a bit more, even if it what it was. But like I don't know, I always like yellow. Yellow is great.
You still rocking those yellow frames, the yellow wish frames?
Yeah, I love the yellow wish frames. The sunflower ones, they're so great.
They're so vibrant. They
Yeah.
stand out. Like your skating stands out so much more with those. I'm sure you get
Thanks.
Scrappy. You probably noticed that off the bat.
You probably did. You probably did. I don't know. I've always loved like the Australian like I guess Olympic colors, the sporting colors, like the dark green and gold, like the yellow.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, they're just colors that always resonate with me. But
Yeah.
like I don't have color. I don't limit myself to color. I don't discriminate with color because they're also wonderful.
Free
Yeah, you love
range,
all the
just like you were
colors. You love
saying.
all the colors.
But I love all the details. Of stuff. As you can see, like I've got.
So if you had a
there's
pro,
so many things. So like maybe if I could, maybe there'd be some little extra stuff blittled in. I don't know.
so if
Yeah.
you had a pro skate, it'd be more focused on the details than the actual maybe colors or something like that.
Well, I think just as a person, that's what I'm always more interested in. Like if I dress myself, it's like I'm always love like putting on the belts and bracelets and all the little extra stuff. And I feel like it's even like the way in which you like skating. It's like I love how like someone exits a trick. How Colin Kelso does certain moves when he like goes out of a grind. And the way he lands, or the way Dominic Sagona does. Like it's just, you know, the way like you put your arms, like when you land, or, you know, a trick. It's like all of these things are like the unique stuff. So like, yeah, find minute details. Maybe.
It's a good
Feel
answer.
that.
I had a
Yeah.
I had a suggestion to John a while ago. I was like, I forgot how this topic came up, but we started talking about like custom skates or pro skates or something like that.
Right.
And I was like, oh, when Robbie gets a pro skate, he should have like a blank, like an empty, like a 908 or something like that, like with no color in it, and like have people like
Color your own.
color, yeah, kind of like color it in type of thing, and like see
I would
what
back
people
that.
come up with.
Yeah.
You back that?
I would back that for sure. That's lovely.
This is an interesting way to get people involved, you know.
Yep.
Dandelion asks,
Maybe one or two more.
yeah, Dandelion asks, what's your favorite famous jacket?
Famous jacket?
Yeah, I don't know if that was like a fashionista
Favorite
question.
Well,
Oh,
Yeah.
like out of like all like
I guess like
70s guys,
yeah.
like 60s guys, like favorite.
I don't know. Is that like a thing?
That's a tough question.
I'm not sure exactly where that's directing.
I don't know if that was like a
this type of
fashion thing.
specificity. But I mean, I definitely have clothes that like, you know, are favorites other than others, and like, I mean, I'm kind of all more about like accessibility. I don't really like paying a lot of money for clothes. So like, I've never really bought a lot of really, you know, expensive items that might be like associated to brands or whatnot. Like, I kind of just like finding stuff that's, you know, relatively accessible price wise, and just, you know, having fun with it, and just incorporating it in the wardrobe because it's more accessible.
Yeah.
You know, so like my sister got me this jacket. It's like a women's blazer. That's like, it's like really Baroque, and it's got like, it's cream and brown and a little bit of like a rust red through it, but like I've had it since 2007, and she just bought it at a thrift store, and I still wear it to this day. So like, it's like kind of like stuff like that, like I still treasure those, and I've maybe, you know, like that would have been like $7 for it or something.
Yeah.
You know, so like, yeah, it's kind of how
You're
I go
against
about
spending
it,
a
yeah.
lot of money on clothes?
I'm not against it, because like some people, you know, that's where they might find a lot of passion. Like because I feel like in those instances, if you like spend a lot of money for, you know, a particular item, maybe you cherish it way more, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
because like you've worked
more
hard to
value
get
for
it,
you,
you
I
really
guess.
like it, you know.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think inherently I don't have anything against really expensive clothes, so to speak. I just like personally haven't really been that interested to explore that aspect, because like,
It's expensive.
yeah, you know, like exactly
Yeah.
the same point, you know. And I don't know, I've always been kind of just about accessibility and just like having fun with it, rather than just
Yeah.
saving all my money to like buy this one thing.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Where?
Be creative with it as well. Helps you, forces you to.
Yeah, and if I don't like it, maybe I can pass it on to someone, you know, or whatever, you know, and it didn't like break my bank account
Yeah,
just to buy
totally.
this thing that like, you know, and I'm not really focused on like anything that's like trend orientated, so to speak, that it's like, oh, I'm not going to like that, and maybe I'm not going to like
Yeah.
that in a year or something. It's like the same with that jacket. I still wear it till this day. And I remember buying one of my first jackets when I was 18 and I wanted to start dressing differently. I went to a thrift store and I bought this like olive green laced women's blazer, and yeah, it was under $10, and I have it with me and I still wear it till this day. 2008, you know, it's
Sick.
over 10 years old.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Keep
you know,
your stuff nice.
yeah.
Before we get to our last question, Farmer said, "What up?"
Hey man,
I was literally just about to bring Farm up. I was about to say you guys could probably like go shopping for like ruffle shirts. Or something
Yeah, he
like
said,
that.
"Robbie just answered my question."
oh wow.
I guess yeah.
You could,
I mean, Chris has such an amazing, you know, fashion sense
Really?
as well, and
Yeah.
like it's, you know, it's awesome seeing him like put a new outfit together,
Yeah.
and a new clip and stuff, because you know, you can tell he loves it too.
Totally.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's rad.
that is rad.
You guys, you
Shout out
and
Farmer.
Farmer should have a podcast together, just about like fashion and clothes and
Wow,
stuff.
we could. We
That'd
could
be
just
interesting.
talk
would
about
have to
Johnny
be-
Thunders and the
that's-
dolls.
It would
I'm
have to be a
sure.
visual podcast, though.
True.
It has to be a visual podcast.
True.
All right,
VR.
VR.
Oh my god.
Last question, Chris Pilar. What is your favorite use of music in a skate film?
Chris, hey man. Say the question again. Sorry.
What's your favorite use of music in a skate film?
I would say, I would say I'd want it to be emotive. Favorite use of music, and that's
Yeah.
why I figure I would probably use it, because I would want it to express some kind of like emotion through it. Because I mean, like for instance, I hope this is what Chris is sort of getting at. If maybe you can comment otherwise, but like for instance, like chapter 2, I really at the point I really hadn't used, you know, like a disco funk track like at that point, and I really like loved like Parliament and Funkadelic and whatnot, and
hell
like
yeah.
that
P-Funk,
that Earth Wind and Fire track was like perfect because it had the VG6 reference and such.
Yeah, I love
but
that.
like I wanted to explore that and have that as part, so I did. And then with Paycheck, I didn't actually have the choice of that track. Like Malcolm chose that one. The two tracks, which was the Billy Idol track and the Brian Eno track, the amazing thing about that was that they were both tracks that I probably, if I was editing, wouldn't have even thought to have chosen, but they worked so well, which was incredible because he had that outside perspective to choose, which that helped me actually give me a wider kind of perspective of how I could maybe see myself, which I then think informed my next part, which was Burn LA. And I had two tracks. I had the David Bowie track, Beauty and the Beast, and then I had this kind of obscure track by this group called Chris and Cozy called Parallelodrill. And that was just like, it was like, it was done in the 90s. It was kind of like this like heavy hitting, like techno, like electronic version of this track that Y did. And like, I just sort of wanted something completely unexpected to what people associated with myself and my image, and to have a completely different emotional response, because that song was like really sort of hard, heavy hitting. And
so you should use like NWA then.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I was gonna ask something like that.
Sick.
Dan Liefeld like remixed me and Montre to a part in one of his Blade blogs years ago, and that definitely had some like slow, maybe 3-6 Mafia or something.
Well, like
I don't know. Yeah,
it was
a
a split of you two.
Yeah. In his Blade blogs, there was. It may not be out there anymore, but I could have it downloaded on my on my hard drive or something. But or someone else might have it.
Dan
but it was like
Liefeld, huh?
it was black and white, and it was like footage from me, from Seven Rats, and Montre from Truth 2. And it was interspersed. It was I felt so honored to be like next to someone like Montre, and
Right.
it was just such a great kind of juxtaposition.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah. I hope that answers your question, Chris.
He said just wanted to get him to talk about it, and it worked.
Nice.
Cool
Thank
guy
you.
emoji.
You.
Well, I would like to say thank you.
Well, thank you both.
Hell yeah,
Appreciate
thank
having
you
you
for
on.
coming on.
That was awesome.
This is a great show.
there's
Thank you
a lot
everyone for
of-
joining us
A lot
too.
of really good nuggets of wisdom that were in that. I really
Hell
like
yeah.
your perspective.
Nice
I
perspective.
hope it's enlightening.
Definitely was.
everyone out there.
Definitely
I've
was.
been enlightened, and I
Hell
think
yeah, me
everyone
too.
who watches
That's
it
what
will
it's
be
all
as
about.
well.
And I guess I should say, if anyone ever feels inclined to, ask me something, always hit me up on, on the chat on Instagram DM or something, because I'm always happy to chat with people and answer questions.
There you go. You're a people person. And next time you talk to Scrappy, tell him Jump Street said what up.
I
All right?
will.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I will.
All right, cool. Maybe we'll get Scrappy on one
Yeah,
day.
maybe we can get him a mug to drink. He can drink the Jameson out of it.
That'd be cool. That would be cool. You know what?
God.
I'm gonna go up around 125th every time I skate there. I'll keep my eye open.
Yo, Scrappy.
Yo, Scrappy.
He's probably there.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
Scrappy, same corner.
Yeah.
All right, but if you don't follow us on Instagram by now, what the hell are you doing?
What are you
man?
doing?
Come on, we say this every episode.
What are you
Follow us
doing?
on Instagram, Facebook, all that, iTunes, YouTube. Go on iTunes, give us a 5-star review, a comment, especially on this episode. Say, wow, that was a really good episode. YouTube, hit the notification bell, so when we do a show, just bing,
That
lights
bell
up on your
works.
phone, like a
That bell
text.
works.
And if you liked anything you heard and you want us to keep moving forward, little money in the Patreon doesn't hurt. Makes us very
It
happy.
does not hurt.
No, it helps us get this pizza.
It helps to get the pizza that we
and
just
the
had.
beers and stuff to keep our guests happy.
Yeah, definitely.
So we appreciate that, and thank you again, Robbie. And stay
Thank you,
tuned,
Austin.
because we will
Thank
be
you,
coming
Dylan.
back shortly, 10 to 15, 20 minutes.
We're going to take a quick pizza break, then we'll be
And
back
we'll come
with our
back
next
with
guest.
another very special guest.
So make sure you
an
have that
international
notification
man of
bell
mystery.
on so you get the notification when we go live again.
That's right.
All right, cool. Everyone, we'll see you in a little bit.
See you soon.
Peace.